Yeah, see, it works.
Thank you.
We're on. Good evening, everyone. This is a meeting of the Franklin School Board. The meeting's being held at the Franklin High School cafeteria on October 18th, 2021. The Franklin School Board did hold a non-public at 5:30 this evening. This is our regularly scheduled monthly meeting, and the meeting is starting at 6:06. We can stand for the salute of the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Colleen, was our meeting posted as is required? Thank you very much. Agenda item 3 is our public participation. During our public participation, I allow anybody to address the school board with any issues you may have. I ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes, and then I give no more than 30 minutes for our first public participation session. I do have a second public participation at the end of the evening under agenda item number 14. If you're unable to finish or you wish to address the school board further. So at this time, I will open the meeting up to public participation for anybody who would like to make any or speak to the school board. Seeing none, I will close that portion of my meeting. We'll now move on to agenda item 3, which is our recognitions. Do any of the administration or school board members have any recognitions that they'd like to bring forward before the school board this evening? Seeing none, I'll close that portion. Next is agenda item number 4. This is our approval of our prior board minutes, which our prior board meeting was on September 20th, 2021. And I would just ask for a motion to accept these minutes, please.
So moved.
So moved by Paul Doucette to accept the minutes of our September 20th. Do I have a second? Second by Maureen. Are there any discussion, corrections that need to be made to these minutes? Go ahead, Cecile.
On page 6, it's regarding the 5-year capital improvement plan. I think that because the acceptance of the basketball court is not included, that we should just kind of clarify that, because there's no discussion of that in the discussion as far as the basketball courts, and just say maybe that it's too expensive at this point in time, or just some little clarification of why it was voted no.
Okay, all right. Dan, would you meet with Colleen on that? I mean, that with our capital improvement plan, I know we talked about on that. So superintendent will make that correction
Okay, thank you.
with Colleen. Are there any other corrections to be made? Seeing none, all in favor of the minutes as presented with the correction, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. Agenda item 5 is our Franklin High School Student Representative Report. I believe we have our representative this evening. Good evening. Come on up, Pia. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Alright, so I'd first like to report that the homecoming festivities were a success, and the parade and bonfire dance were enjoyed by everyone, and the student body had a great night. And we also want to say thank you to you, the school board, for allowing this to happen. And on behalf of the student council, we wrote a thank you card to you guys.
Thank you very much.
And recently for the seniors, there have been offerings to help through workshops for students who plan on attending college, and this has been helpful through the college process, and students have been taking advantage of this. And also the student lounge here at the high school has been put together and has officially opened up today. And students enjoy this during their learning labs, and they can take privilege of this if they have good grades. And they really enjoy it since it has like couches, chairs, and some snacks. And these first few months of school have been going pretty well, and we're excited for the upcoming opportunities and fun events to come. That's all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Any questions for our representative?
All right.
I will tell you, so Carrie knows, at the delegate assembly from the New Hampshire School Board Association. It was voted and approved that they are going to fund a student representative scholarship that will start this year. So once we have all that done, we'll get all that paperwork so you have it, so you can submit to be considered for a scholarship. I believe it's going to be, they're going to do 5 $1,000 ones. We're still figuring out, but it was approved on Saturday, so I'll make sure Carrie gets the information and have you apply for it.
Cool, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any questions for our representative? You did okay.
All right.
Thank you. Okay. We need to go back on one item. Superintendent Gallo did receive a couple of emails that need to be read into the public participation. I apologize for going back to agenda item 2, but we do need to get these in.
Thank you, Chairman. My apologies for this. We have 2 emails I received. One is from Mark Gayton. Good afternoon, Dan. I just wanted to reach out to you with my growing concern with what's going on in the middle school. Every day, more and more students and faculty seem to be coming down with COVID. My concern is that the school remains fully open because that is what the district wants. In my opinion, and several other concerned parents, there needs to be an option for some type of remote learning until the school gets some type of hold on this problem. Simply having the students wear masks does not seem to work. I would possibly suggest having the school professionally sanitized on a daily basis and maybe a hybrid schedule while your team works on this issue. Thank you for your time and be safe. And the next email I received was from Stacy Pease. Good morning. I'm reaching out to you this morning as a concerned parent. I'm curious why the school is not offering remote learning this year. There has been numerous cases of COVID at the middle school, as I suspected there would be once school was back in session. Most of these cases are in my son's wing. I'm worried that the school really is not doing all they can. I feel it's going to get worse in the upcoming months. My son has asked me if he could be remote again because he's worried and he knows his little brother has not had both shots yet and is concerned about getting him sick. I obviously can't keep him home, but it would be nice to have the option of remote learning. I also worry about all the other kiddos that can't get vaccinated yet. I really hope you can or will consider offering remote learning again. Thank you and have a great day. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. All right. And both of those emails will go to Colleen, and they will become part of the minutes of our meeting. All right. Back to our agenda. Agenda item number 6 is a Peabody Home presentation. As most of you know, the Peabody Home has taken on building a new facility. If you haven't had the opportunity, it's an absolute gorgeous facility. I haven't seen it from the inside, but I've seen it from the outside. I took a ride down to Odell Park this weekend.
Oh, beautiful.
Looked on the backside of it. It's amazing. For any of you who don't know, Attorney Chris Sufit is on the board of directors. With that, if I'm right, Chris, is it?
I'm the chair.
Chair of it.
For $1 a year, I guess.
Attorney Sufit, if those you don't know, has an office right beside the high school here. He's been in this city for quite a few years, and he's taken on quite a few different projects within our city. And this is just another thing, but we felt it was necessary because there's a lot of positive things that are going to be happening there. And Chris wanted the opportunity to be able to talk to the board about it.
Sure. So we're moving into the phase 1 in January, and then they're going to take down the existing old building and put phase 2 on that. And we're hoping that we can work with the school system on, using our space over there, allowing your students to do some artwork, maybe some shadow training for jobs and such. So I thought that we'd, just chat for about 5 minutes here and give you some of Howie Chandler is our executive director. He prepared this little note for you all with some of his ideas. You all probably have some more ideas you could come up with as to how we could collaborate and work together. And then John Benham, of course, is the chair of the building committee, so I take credit for everything that John does. So Howie, you want to give him a little ideas here?
Good evening. My hope is that we can partner together to put together some intergenerational programs that will be as good for the elders at Peabody as it will be for the students of all grades within the Franklin system. There can be some simple things, there can be some complicated things, but there's something, it's all mutual benefit. Elders need to be needed. It isn't just about what children, students do for elders, it's what elders can also do. In the Eden alternative, which is the alternative approach to long-term care, the single biggest plague that's identified is that of helplessness. Elders need to be needed, and they have so much that they can share. It can be as simple with elementary school students as reading, developing a habit of reading, and it can be as sophisticated as helping a high school student with history projects. These are people who have lived through some of these periods of history. It's also a place where special needs or uniquely needs children, students, can feel welcome because all of our elders have their own special set of needs. So it's a wonderful, it has the potential of a wonderful collaboration. And I hope that at all levels and in all departments that we can find ways to work together. Any immediate questions, concerns, or suggestions that you might have?
When do we start?
February. When the new building opens, we'll be ready. COVID willing.
But it would be nice if we could do a work session, my full board, with your board, to brainstorm here, you know? It's gonna be a beautiful facility, and when the second phase is done, we're gonna have more common space. Most of the common spaces are in the second building, and that's gonna start in January and supposed to be done by the end of next year, which is phase 2.
Of course, you know we have community service hours that students require. I know you said some shadowing, but if we met and discussed it, is there a possibility for our students to do some community service work?
Absolutely.
Guaranteed.
Okay.
Excellent. So anyways, if you can think of anything you wanna, send my way, or both boards to sit down for a work session or something, that'd be great.
You can definitely do that. If you wanna come kind of touch base with Dan,
Yeah.
and he'll put some dates out to the board once you've been able to get some. I know the board would probably be interested. I know I would be. I know you offered it to the city council too for a tour of it once it's.
You let me know when, and we'll make it happen.
Okay. All right.
And if we can, sooner the better, because it's getting darker earlier, and the workmen basically are there through about 4 or 5 o'clock, so we better do it in a hurry.
Okay. We'll figure something definitely out.
Yeah, you pick a date, I'll make it happen.
Are there any questions for Attorney Stufer? Go ahead, Dan.
While he's in the room, and it's not related to this project, but it was about 2 years ago now, just before COVID hit, you did a presentation on lead action, and then everything kind of fell apart. Is that coming back?
Yeah. And hopefully we'll roll that back in 2022 again next year. All right.
Any other questions for Attorney Stufer? All right, Dan, Chris, when you get a chance, just kind of touch base with Dan, and you guys can figure something out.
Well, see you all soon.
Thank you very much for coming. All right, we're gonna move on to agenda item 7. Agenda item 7 is a marketplace discussion. I'm gonna let Dan kind of touch base on this so we can lead into the presentation for
Yes.
people.
So our Makerspace discussion, I want to introduce Jim Jones and Bill Jacopucci from New Hampshire Gear, Franklin Gear, I should say. And we've been meeting off and on for a few months now, and then Jefferson and Jewel met with Bill and Jim, and we set up a meeting for them to come talk to the board. So welcome, gentlemen. They're going to come up and talk about Makerspace and some of the collaboration between the school district and their programs, and tell you about an exciting kickoff we're doing in January. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you. Jim will come up after. Excuse me, I'm going to take some notes here, have some notes because I've worn a lot of different hats today. So let's see, it says I'm Bill Jacopucci, so I got that done. So yeah, some of you might have heard of Franklin Gear before. It started actually as a clothing and apparel, well, that's the same thing, a clothing and accessories line that was being sold at the Franklin Studio, which is now the Franklin Cafe. And I felt there wasn't enough of that type of thing, in town. So we started doing that, And my goal was to have 10% of the proceeds go to STEM stuff. And I was like, well, at this rate, I'll be 1,000 years old before I give them any decent money, so why don't I just start a Makerspace? So we basically reassigned that name to a new nonprofit, which is called Franklin Gear. We have a lot of great people on our board. Of course, we've got Jim, we've got Crystal from Parks and Rec, Jeremy Laux, who's involved with the whitewater stuff, Colby Morrill, most famous probably for Kayak Man. So we had to have him. So a bunch of different people, but all very good in what they do. So the first question some people might have is, okay, what is a makerspace? And believe me, I've had some people in the industry and tradespeople that didn't know what a makerspace was, and that kind of blew me away a little bit. But basically, a makerspace is a place that you can belong, and you can use tools that you may not have room for in your own house, or some tools that none of us could probably afford on our own. Like, for example, a laser cutter, that's about 30 grand. So the idea behind a makerspace, there's three things that makerspaces usually provide. One, of course, is learning. Two is fun. And three is it can be a jobs engine. We are in discussion with some of our area manufacturers to provide us with some equipment and even some of their people so that they can train people on how to use that equipment. So let's see. And there's basically three types actually there's mainly two types of makerspaces, but we're gonna make a third. Normally they're standalone, where they are on the, they're off-site, and it's open to the public, anybody can come. There are some school-based ones. Amherst, New Hampshire has a school-based one, and they do open it to the public after school hours. I'm just gonna get myself to your back there. No, but okay, so we got the school-based. The downside of the school-based one is the regular people can't go in until the school's over. So anyways, the opportunity that we have here is we have the opportunity for a hybrid, where we are going to have our own makerspace. And right now, just if you're interested, it looks like we're going into 20 Church Street. That is also formerly known as the Knights of Columbus building, and it is directly across from the church. It's currently yellow. Has a lot of garbage in front of it, but not for long. So we're finishing up our negotiations with the landlord. So the unique opportunity we see here is obviously Franklin has a lot of the programs that they had when I went to school and Tim went to school were cut over the years due to budgetary issues. And we know budgets are still a problem. And also sometimes hard even getting some good people to teach some of these things. So what we want to do is we want to provide some after-school programs that the kids can take advantage of, which I'll have Jim and we also have Yama with us. Yama is one of our members and very active. He is actually in a makerspace in Austin, Texas, where he was from or still is from. Did you sell your house? Not yet. Too bad it wasn't on our lake. We've gone like that. But anyways, yeah. So this is an opportunity because one of the problems you have when you have a makerspace that's in a school, like I already mentioned that. Sorry, it's been a long day. But with the we have the opportunity to teach kids right in the middle school because some of the stuff is already there. You've got the great culinary arts equipment, and you have the wood shop. So the beauty of that is we can help teach some of the kids, and adults can still use our makerspace anytime. So anyways, I already talked too much. I'm going to hand it over to Jim.
I promise I'll keep it short, maybe. So I wear a lot of hats. I'm the co-president of the Franklin ski area, so remind me, I need some volunteer hours. I'm also a realtor in town, and I run a building and remodeling consulting business. I was a builder in a former life. I got too old, used and abused. But we're missing the trades, and the opportunity exists to partner with Joe's program, Joe Brown's program, and the manufacturing in town. Our thought is, and I hope it evolves this way, we have to crawl before we walk. We're leasing the basement of the Knights of Columbus, and we believe we have some metal shop equipment and some wood shop equipment. I spoke with your shop teacher here, and we're going to have further discussion. My concern was, okay, what do you want a ninth grader coming in, taking shop class? What do you want? What experiences do you want him to have? What knowledge? I gave my thoughts about finding out the different types of wood, how to get the most out of a piece of wood when you're manufacturing something. We're going to offer in the woodworking program about 6 basic things that they can make and take home. Some of the more advanced might be a cutting board or a sign that's routed out. Something simple or fun might be Yahtzee. It's like Yahtzee, only it's 4x4s and you throw them in the yard. Or a retro, a little penny arcade thing. It's on a board with pegs. So they're going to learn about STEM because they're going to learn fractions. They're going to learn angles, decimals, radiuses, and they're going to learn about the wood species, how to finish them, how to get the most out of a piece of wood, maximizing without waste. And we have 2 of us, Marty Parashan's dad, Bob, is an experienced woodworker, and myself, and we're looking to recruit one other that's a former shop teacher, but I think he's a snowbird, so I'm not sure how long we'll have him. Our thought was, when we sat with Dan, to do 2 10-week segments starting in January. And in the course of 10 weeks, over 3 days, an hour and a half a day, these kids should be able to go home with something at no cost and have gained experience. Anytime there's a machine running, it'll be one-on-one, because we're going to enforce and instruct in safety. And it's good sometimes just to stand behind and watch what happened and then critique it, so the next kid maybe does it better. The best teachers are going to be the kids that get it quick and can teach the other kids. We'll have oversight on that, but I think there's a huge opportunity there. Thinking down the road, you have to have the big dream in order to know where to start. The big dream is that at some point in time, maybe we can take over some of the stuff that you're transporting students to Laconia for. If the Makerspace takes off, it's a membership-driven thing. We'll also have, if funds permit, and this goes the way we hope, studio space for artisans, jewelry makers, potters, painters, and they give course classes. They're not inexpensive classes, so they're not really gauged for the students, but they are for the parents. And having the Makerspace open through year-round, take a ninth grader or an 8th grader who's done a good job and maybe wants to go further, there'll be an opportunity for them to join as a family membership with a parent and come and continue their learning. We're just in the infancy here. Woodworking seemed to be the one that was easy, quick. I've looked at the shop at the middle school. It's a pretty nice shop. We'll have a better one at the Makerspace, but it's a pretty good start. Cost-wise, there are some materials there that I think we can use, so we'll keep the costs to a minimum for raw materials. We will need finishing products and the reusable stuff, sandpaper and stuff. We also have the opportunity to do a culinary program, and we're excited to have Yama, who is a culinary genius. No. He has been schooled in that, and he's also been a teacher, and he's put together a pretty good synopsis of what he thinks he can provide. Yama, you want to come up and talk about the culinary program? Do you have any questions on the woodworking or where we're going, where we've been?
When do you plan to start?
We're hoping for January 3rd, I think was the date.
So, I come here as a foreigner, and I ended up loving this place so much that we're staying for good. And let me tell you something that impressed me about Franklin that hopefully you are well aware of. This place has hope. When I was at the opening of the works for the Whitewater Raft Park, you could almost hold that hope in your hands. It was so solid. I love it. So in that sense, I want to contribute as much as I can, wherever I can. And through Franklin Gear, I am finding a specific place where my skills get put to use. And how does it play with everything else that is going on? For one thing, you all have fabulous facilities out there in the middle school. If we can, for example, the carpentry program, or what I have been preparing, the culinary arts program, will add without complicating things. We already have the facilities available. Adding opportunities for learning is something that is generally considered good, so I'm all for it. I could tell you so much more, but what I would want is eventually, as things get, one thing that I love of Jim's project that he didn't mention, he intends his kids to be building benches for the new park. This kind of meshing things together is something that I am looking forward to. If the kids in the middle school that are learning to cook end up preparing some nice meal that we can somehow make part of other activities, help things mesh. I know that the Opera House has events where they have snacks. How can we get more of the community getting involved? There's the mention about the intergenerational programs with PIBD. All those things I personally look forward to seeing more of. If you'll have any questions.
Any questions?
Sir.
Yeah, I spoke with you at the Economic Development Forum there for a little while. Could you share with the rest of the board a little bit about your background in culinary?
I was born in Bolivia. I was minding my business happily in New York when I found out there was a pre-girl in Texas. Been there 18 years, and then we decided that we needed something better, and we ended up in New Hampshire. I have 3 degrees in education, worked as a teacher at different levels for 19 years. Doesn't pay as well as coding computers, so that's what I have been doing for the last 8 or 10 years. And I have also started several businesses, some of them related to pretty fancy electronics that I am working with Franklin Gear. And my latest activity was as a paper maker. I have been one of the top 10 paper makers in the United States for the last 4 years or so. And nowadays I'm doing farming in Franklin, believe it or not. And I love it. On the other hand, about paper making, I'm looking forward to opportunities to revive. Did you know that it's 200 years since Peabody and Crane came to Franklin? There wasn't Franklin then, and started the first mill here. 200 years this year. They actually were producing paper the next year, so we can celebrate the bicentennial next year.
Their shop was way up on the river.
Yes, sir.
Right
Yep.
beside. I have an old hand drawing of it, of the shop, yeah. Peabody and
I'll
Crane.
have to chat with you because I would very much want to find ways to use that as another anchor for the good things that are happening here in Franklin. If that could become a tourist spot where we make paper, but we'll chat about that.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yep, we got one question over here.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that you've been in computers for 8 years too?
Working as such, I've been one way or another over 30 years, yes.
Okay, what are you doing with computers?
Right now, lately I was a consultant. I did coding for a market research company.
Okay.
But I have taught computers in the days when that was a very new thing, and I am a board member, which I will have to resign, of what is called the Robot Group, which is an Austin nonprofit that builds robots and has been doing that for the last 20 years. And been involved doing that more for fun than for profit.
Have you discussed maybe adding a computer program to Makerspace as well?
Actually, it happens almost as a given. It's not something that we have as a separate thing, because especially there's these machines called CNCs, computer numerical coding, that are used for certain kinds of manufacturing. There's like, they're like routers that are computer driven. And I saw quite a few of them, maybe several dozen at Watts, right here in, on Main Street. And there's different kinds, different sizes, and apparently we have been offered a large one as part of the tools that we will have at the Makerspace.
That's excellent.
Yes, oh, I agree with you. I have built two CNCs myself from scratch, and it's a kind of activity. I have a friend who actually did middle school level teaching educational program, starting from building the CNC and then using it. But it's not something that we have been planning on implementation because of the problem of investment needed for something that starts from scratch. That's why, for example, the culinary arts came first, because there's already the place. But if you are interested in this particular subject, I will be very happy to follow up with you and eventually build a proposal or something so that we can seek grants for something like this.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, I just wanted to add two things. Vitech is the company that's agreed to or suggested that they would offer us a CNC machine and people to train us. The beauty about a makerspace, and we're just fledgling, that's why we're only taking the basement floor of the KFC. Our hope is to, as we get off and rolling, there's more opportunity on the second floor where we can separate studio space and classroom space. We've already had an inquiry, it was jewelry, I think?
The jewelry maker who
Yeah,
wants.
the jewelry maker who wants space, and we will do whatever we have to accommodate her initially in the basement and then hopefully move her upstairs. Robotics, any of the things that maybe aren't a full class or full semester, but there's an interest of, I would love to have teachers partner with us and take something that's your passion, that you think is missing, and come to the Makerspace, and we'll offer it to kids and adults, and that's how we grow. I do have a homework assignment for you all. we told you what a Makerspace is to us. One of the things it is to me is I'm older, retiring, I'm gonna downsize, I have a shop. I'm not gonna have a place for that shop. And so I'm going to give my tools to the Makerspace, and I'm gonna have a place where I can go and continue my hobbies. It may be something different to you. It might be sewing machines, it might be knitting or crocheting. Think outside the box. What do you want the Makerspace that we hope to have up and running in the next year? What do you see that it could be, that it could offer both to students and to adults? And then certainly partnering with the existing shop teacher, there's electronics, robotics that we all want to get our fingers into and find a way to partner on and provide some of that after school as well. Any other questions? We've taken a bunch of your time, and homework assignments, just get your suggestions to Dan for me, if you would. Thanks.
All right, so what's gonna happen now, okay, this proposal for the beginning part, because we have the availability in the middle school, and I know Dan has spoken with Ken about this, and had a discussion about them using the middle school for the woodshop room, which we had to eliminate woodshop. We tried to bring it back, we were unable to. Now we have this great opportunity to bring the woodshop back in and after school. a culinary program within the middle school, which I know Ken is very excited about.
Very hungry for it.
If there's no objections from the board, well, I'm just gonna have Dan continue his negotiations and speaking with the Makerspace and continue this, and then, do you wanna come back in November or December, Dan, to give a final proposal?
Yeah, there's really no negotiation or anything that has to happen. We have it all pretty much settled.
Okay.
We're using grant money. We're trying to run it through the 21st Century After-School Program in terms of framing it. So we're framing it as selections for our kids to sign up for, like they sign up for other things through 21st Century. Like I said, Jefferson and I have worked out the finances through using some grant money. So we're pretty much good to go. I mean, they're gonna try and run those 10-week courses starting in January. I think we're gonna push it back to January 10th, Jim, just to let you know.
Okay.
Because we don't come back to school till that first day there. But we're gonna try and do the 10-week sessions, and we have plans for a second 10-week session to run as well. Because we're expecting kids to be very interested in this. I mean, if you want to give board approval for this to happen, you could do it
I
tonight.
don't think we really need to.
I don't think you need
It's
to
nothing
either.
that we
This
have
was
to
more
do.
informational
Right.
for us to share the good news that
Yeah.
we found a way to get culinary and wood shop into the middle school. You know, we tried to hire teachers and weren't successful, so this is just another way to do it, so.
Delaney?
This is mainly an after-school program?
This is an after-school
So
program.
is there a way to work this into a credit-bearing program in replace of where we couldn't hire teachers for?
I think this is a small step in the right direction at this point. Yeah.
Bill, if you guys could come back like after the first 10 weeks, just to give an update to the board, just so we see, you know, we can hear about how the successes and all that stuff.
Right.
We'll definitely keep it up. Yeah, Jim?
I do have one question, and this was an assumption, and it's always a bad thing to do. It is an after-school program, and there's two things that have to happen. All the participants or instructors need to be fingerprinted, and I've heard horror stories of it being 5, 6, 8 weeks. So I don't know, maybe we can work with PD and get this expedited.
Yeah, no, you just have to set up a time with my administrative assistant, Jim.
Yeah.
She'll get you done, she can get it done in a day.
Okay.
Yeah, so we just need all the people that are gonna work in the program to connect with me, I'll get you set up and we'll get it done.
Of course, Tim, you can help.
Yeah.
I've experienced with that.
Yeah, you know.
The second question is about liability. Where this is an after-school program, and there are inherent accidents that can happen, is the school covering all the liability there?
We're covered under our insurance.
Okay. 'Cause we have to do it on the Makerspace, and it's a lot of money. Thank you, I think you answered all our questions.
Thank you guys for your presentations, very much appreciated. Thank you for coming forward and taking this extra steps. I know it'll be beneficial to our students, so thank you very much.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Christie.
When would you plan on announcing this to the students?
Anytime after this meeting, really, we wanted the board, I don't do much without the board knowing.
And are there a certain amount of students that can be in each class?
Yeah,
Okay.
we said, I think 16 is what we were shooting for in each class, based on the size of the wood shop and the size of the kitchen.
Okay. If you get an overwhelming response, say you get 32 instead of just 16, will you offer a second class?
That's what we're hoping to do, and then to run a second session from April to June.
Okay.
Delaney?
I have one other question along the credit line. What about the opportunities through the Learn Anywhere program?
I think that's something that we can look at to the future. I think we should see how this goes first, and then work from there. I mean, I think there's a lot of possibilities moving forward. I think for right now, though, the best thing to do is to run it as a 21st century after-school program, see how that works and how that runs, and then move from there to the next step.
Okay. Any other questions? Deb?
Sorry, I'm late.
We
Made
know.
it. In regards to the fingerprinting, do you allow people to start before the criminal record checks have been cleared from Fed?
As long as they've had the fingerprinting done, we allow them to start, but I would get them to do it early so it does clear before we start. We have plenty of time to do that.
When are you starting?
January 10th.
January, okay. Because it is taking 3 to 4 weeks to get
It's
those
taken a
back.
while, yeah, I've got some,
Yeah.
but we don't hold back. We allow people to start once they've submitted them.
Okay, do you do live scan or do you do hand printing yourself?
What's the PD? Yeah, we
I don't know what the PD's doing right now.
Okay,
So, I think Crystal mentioned live scan over
Yeah.
Typically, it's live scan, yeah.
because live scan, as a superintendent, you would have the authorization to go in to the reporting, to view it before the actual documents come. So that may be something, if you've not signed up for that, to look into.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, everyone, I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Thank you, guys.
All right. Agenda item 8 will not be happening. The technology integrator update with Robin and David Cole. David is under the weather and out. Robin, do you want to talk about anything with technology itself, how things are going, or anything like that? Do you have anything you want to just address to the board?
Yeah, we've made some great strides forward with a program called Clever. What Clever is going to do is it's going to make it much easier for the students to log in to all of the programs they use so that there's more instructional time and less struggling for logging in. We've already launched it with the elementary school. They're using QR codes so that they're into their computers faster. At the high school and other grades, they're already using it. They'll log in the old-fashioned way, but once they're in, they can get into all of their applications, their learning applications quicker and easier. We are launching it on a slow basis, so we're not overwhelming anybody. So it's just a way to make it easier for everybody to get into what they need to learn and not be restricted by the everyday issues of logging in and get going. So we've already seen a huge improvement at the elementary school with the kids spending more time learning, less time trying to log in. So it's going smoothly, and that's one of the biggest projects we've launched this year. And like I said, it's during the school year starting, so we're not trying to overwhelm anybody, but it is going smoothly and it is helping.
Excellent, thank you, Robin. Delaney?
I actually have a question about logging in, because I noticed on my computer a couple of weeks ago, my system changed, and it's looking to take a picture of something that I don't have. And so once my computer goes into sleep mode, I have to start over and I lose everything that's set up on my computer.
Right, and that's also a security update that happened at the same time. And for some reason, I think I maybe missed sending out that notice to the school board members. I did send it out to everybody in-house and all the students, and my error on that, I'm going to say I didn't probably include you guys. So when you get your screen, you can just click on log in as another user, then it's not looking for a QR code. Then you log in normal.
And I've done that, and then everything that I have set up on the computer, like all my tabs, whatever I'm working on,
You need to bookmark them.
yeah, it's gone. It doesn't just, it's not like just logging back in and having my work there.
It's a security setting. It was a setting we were supposed to have done quite a long time ago. And unfortunately, Google said, well, too late. It's happening today. And I was unaware that was going to happen. Oops. I was unaware that was going to happen quite so fast. So again, it was a little bit of a dilemma, but it's a security setting that we don't have any choice of it. So if somebody picks up another student's Chromebook, there is no way they're going to get in and get anything private or any private information.
So how do I save my workspace if I happen to get up and take a quick break and come back to my computer once in a while?
You go to your history, it's always available. Any tabs you had open will show up in history. Because it's only going to be your Google tabs. Everything else saves constantly. Your Word doc, your Google Docs.
Yeah, that's all I use for, for like this meeting. I usually set up all my tabs so I can have all the Word documents I can be ready to go.
Right, and again, just set them up
I guess I'll have to learn again.
you can set them up as so when you've got a web page open, you can drag the lock down onto your bookmark bar, and it'll be there all the time. So those will be, instead of tabs, they'll be clickable links that you can click anytime to open them.
You want to send out a tutorial?
Yes, I can probably have Dave even do something up to help make it a little easier.
How come I don't have that problem?
Because you're special.
I knew that part, but.
You should have that problem.
No, not on any of my devices. Okay, well, I'm lucky.
So we'll have our technology integrator, and then Delaney, you can kind of touch base with Robin. And, all right, let's move on to agenda item, thanks, Robin. Let's go on to agenda item number 9, which is our old business. We'll start with our business administrator for our financial reports.
Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's had an opportunity to look at the financial reports in the board packet folder. At this point, this early in the year, we have spent and encumbered 96% of our budget so far. This leaves a balance of $756,111. But as we are very early in the process, this is going to potentially fluctuate over the next several months quite a bit. This report that I put forward does not include the money that we have brought forth to the City Council of $656,956, which was due to the additional fund balance and the increase in our adequacy aid that we have received from the state. Hoping that the City Council approves those numbers at the next City Council meeting in November, I will adjust the budget to reflect those amounts. The revenue report that was in the folder does show the additional revenue in there from the extra fund balance and adequacy aid, but obviously, again, depending on how the City Council decides to handle those funds, I will adjust that revenue template to reflect the outcome of that meeting. Things that I have noticed through going through the budget, I've seen that our special education costs are a bit higher than we have budgeted in some areas. Certain things that have been unanticipated, such as contracted services related to behavioral support, speech, and occupational therapy. Depending on how the year progresses and how our general fund outlook continues through the year, some of those unanticipated costs could potentially be covered by the ESSER grants, depending on where we are at that point, but I'm not going to make that decision right now because we're still early on in the process. Right now, with special education, one way we've been able to actually offset those contracted services is, unfortunately, it's not a good thing, is we've had a hard time filling positions in the special education personnel departments, like para-educators. I think we're still looking for a case manager. We never filled the out-of-district coordinator position, so that savings has offset the extra costs in those other areas. So that as we progress, obviously that'll have to be reviewed as we continue forward. On an interesting note, we were notified by the city last week that Franklin was the first tax rate set in the state. Thought that was quite an interesting achievement, I guess, if you want to call it that. At this point, that's the extent of what I was going to report on tonight. There are some items under the superintendent's business that will handle some other financial concerns that we have arising.
What is the tax rate?
That I don't have the information on. That ability for me to see that was disabled, so we'd have to actually get that from the city at this point. I can usually get a hold of somebody at the Department of Revenue, though, to send me out the tax rate sheet, because I like to keep track of all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
But I don't have that number here tonight.
Email one.
Yep.
But being first in the state is like a
You'll
brand.
definitely see it in December, I'm sure, when you get your bill.
All right, are there any financial questions for Jefferson? All right, thank you, Jefferson. We'll get to some of the other items, as you said, in the superintendent's report. All right, we're going to move on. Second portion of our whole business is our committee reports. We'll start with Deb, the committee on her committee reports.
It's been a busy month for me, besides here and work and everything, but the Finance Committee met on October 13th, and we reviewed the normal reconciliations and the financial reports as you had this evening in the drive. We were given the budget update of revenues. We reviewed the building project of the middle school entryway. And there was a request that came, just as an FYI, for reconsideration of the financial fund balance for 2021, which you have in the superintendent's report that he'll be talking about. We talked about, we're going to be meeting with as a joint finance committee with the city tomorrow evening. And I asked to have school tax allocation and health insurance on behalf of our committee, our finance committee, to be on the agendas for discussion. It's at 6 o'clock in the Blue Room at the City Hall. We reviewed the process for student parking permits. And we also talked about the air handling and possible windows project in the future, as well as we were reported on with roof, longevity of our roofs and our buildings within the district. So that is finance. On Saturday, I attended the delegate assembly on behalf of the board, and everything that was proposed was approved as NHSBA was recommending. However, there was an additional article that was brought forward from the Monadnock School Board, and the resolution was the New Hampshire School Boards Association supports amendment of RSA 91A to allow for remote participation of all public body members in official meetings of full boards and committees. This was a last-minute item that came in after the deadline, so it had to be approved to be even discussed on the floor, which it did get the approval, and it wound up being a resolution after a number of votes to the requirements to get it discussed and on the agenda. So I'll leave the book with Tim, or not Tim, but Dan, so if he has it at the office, if anybody wants to review the results. Each page I've marked what passed and if anything was just not accepted.
Are there any questions for Deb? All right, thanks, Deb. Delaney, I believe, do you have any committee?
We have not met with the action committee since our last full meeting. We have a meeting on the 3rd, and our main topic of discussion of that will be our strategic plan core value 1 review.
I know policy, we had to postpone and make it to a new date, October 28th?
28th.
Is the new date. Unfortunately, Maureen and I couldn't make it. So that left poor Cecile by herself. So we changed it, so we'll have that one. Superintendent Legallo and I attended the first Regional Advisory Board meeting for Hewitt last Thursday. Things are going very well over there. They're following the opening plan of Laconia High School. So their attendance or enrollment has stayed the same. It's a little over 400, but they did see an increase in their second year enrollment, which is always a positive thing with them over there. So things are going very well. There's a few new programs that they're discussing. One of them is a nursing program that they want to get into, but there's some more work to be done on it, and they are still out there looking for some more community members for internships, but things have been going very well over there, and they're very happy with how the opening portion of it has gone. So, and the fact that the enrollment has not declined, and that more students are looking to go over there for the second year is a very positive thing. So. Meeting lasted for about an hour and a half, but it went very well. So things are still moving forward with our Hewitt. All right.
Tim, I forgot one thing for the New Hampshire School Boards Association. It was also by consensus of the committee to
Is this
create.
is this on the scholarship?
Yeah.
I already announced it.
Okay,
I didn't know what time you were gonna be here when
That's
our representative was here.
that's not a problem.
I do have the tax rate,
What is it?
$23.21.
There you go, Paul.
$23.19.
21 cents.
2321.
Yep.
All right, so that ends agenda item 9. We'll move on to agenda item 10, which is our new business, and this is our update from our superintendent.
Okay, I'm going to start tonight with our COVID-19 update in the schools. As you know, I have been sending out a spreadsheet every day with information. It's on our website as well. As of Friday evening, test positivity rate for Franklin was 11.5%, which is the highest it's been all year. 83 new cases in the last 14 days. 61 active cases in the last 14 days, and the vaccination rate for Franklin is at 41%. Active cases at the schools as of Friday night, 1 at the elementary school, 18 at the middle school, and 5 at the high school. We did have 5 more cases over the weekend and into today that I reported out this afternoon and evening. 2 at the high school, 1 staff member, 1 student, and 3 more at the middle school. For the year, the elementary school has seen 4 COVID cases, the middle school has seen 31 cases, and the high school has seen 13 cases. We have received some inquiries from parents regarding, as I read earlier, remote learning options. I've been counseling individual parents with some options that they have at this time. I've also talked with some parents who were concerned and talked to them about their ability to have their kids stay at home for a period of time, and us providing them the work for their students until things calm down a little bit. I wanted to review with you the way we've been making decisions with masks. As you know, we started the year mask optional. With 1 case in the high school or the middle school, we would go from mask optional to masking at 3 feet. That allows the kids to sit at their desks and take a mask break. When we got the cluster at the middle school, we moved to masking at 6 feet, which means basically they have masks on all day long, except for outdoor mask breaks or when they're consuming meals. In the elementary setting, it was pretty much masking at 6 feet within an individual classroom. That seemed to work very well. And the high school has been masked at 3 feet with the individual cases that they've had. There have been over 100 clusters in schools across New Hampshire, and the middle school is one of those over 100 clusters. But that's how we've been using the masking approach based on the plan that we put together. We have consulted with DHHS and Public Health on every case that we get. We have to report, and they help us make those decisions moving forward. So I didn't know if the board had questions or wanted to talk about this at all, but certainly open for questions.
Go ahead, Delaney.
With the cluster at the middle school, has that been determined to be in-school transmission?
Yes, that's what a cluster means. You had in-school transmission of 3 cases, and they label it a cluster. So right now at the middle school, as of Friday night, we made the decision with DHHS to go 6-foot masking for the entire school. So that started today. Ken and Jay put that in place today for the first time.
And what's everything seems to have a time frame for how long you're doing this?
Yeah, 14 days is typical, is what you would do. So 14 days from the initial symptoms of the latest case. And then if you get another case, then it pushes it out 14 days and then 14 more days. So we've been working closely with the nurses to track it. The elementary school, knock on wood, I don't want to jinx the elementary school, but they're mask optional at this point. So, Sue, let's not jinx it, right? They've been mask optional for a while now. And at the high school with only 5 cases, they've been masking at 3 feet for a while, but they've only had some intermittent cases. Nothing has been, like I said, they've only had 13 cases all year. And they only have had 5 in the last 14 days. So there's been no kind of evidence of a cluster or in-school transmission.
Any change of thought in your methodology, or just you think the plan that we started the year with is still a solid plan?
Well, I mean, it's easy to second guess. You know, for some reason at the high school, we didn't get a cluster where the kids are mixed together all day long. But for some reason at the middle school, where they're kind of isolated in the wings, we did get a cluster using the same methodology. And at the elementary school, they're a little more isolated, so it's hard to compare there. I mean, certainly we could get more aggressive and go to, when you have a case, go right to 6-foot distancing. But it's all about being least restrictive, and having 6-foot mask distancing is very restrictive on the kids and the staff. You know, you're basically saying that when you're indoors, you have a mask on the entire day. So we did not decide to do that until we got the cluster, and when we got the cluster, we did it in the wing that had the cluster. And, you know, we're still seeing cases even though we had done that more than a week ago in that original wing. I want to remind people, last year we had, from January to probably the end of March, we had hybrid going on. So we only had half the kids in the building. We were spread out by 6 feet. Desks were spread out by 6 feet. And kids had to wear masks if they were anywhere but their desk. And we had over 30 cases at that point. And this is before the Delta variant came out. And we still had a bunch of cases then. So I don't know that, I think what the thing to remember is masking is one of many things we can do to mitigate, but it's not 100%. You know, you can't just say that putting masks on all the children and all the staff is going to stop the spread, because that's just not the case. You know, the hand washing and the sanitizing and the deep cleaning in the classrooms is just as important as whether or not you're going to, you know, spread the kids out as much as you can and wear masks. So, you know, at this point, I think we should continue to follow the plan. Like I said, I do counsel and work with parents on options for their children. I've had not a large number of parents. I've had a handful of parents that I've worked with and will continue to work with. Some parents, you know, situations are different than others, and I mean, I think that that's the prudent direction to go in. But I'll remind everybody that with one case in a school, we masked up. We didn't wait for more than one. As soon as we got one case, we went right to mass. You know, and at this point, you know, in total for the year, we've had, let's see, 31, 48 cases in the district, so.
And just to address, I believe one of the letters asked about cleaning. Are we still on the same kind of cleaning that we were doing all last year?
We have all our sanitation chemicals, our sanitation equipment. Yeah, we've got the hand sanitizer, you know, in the classrooms, you know, in the entrances to the buildings. You know, so we're doing all those different things. But we have twice as many kids in the building as we did for most of last year, if you remember. You know, and when kids came back on April 19th, we were seeing a dramatic decrease at that point. You know, by the end of school year, we actually, the last couple of days of school, we were mask-free, indoors and outdoors last June. Everybody was feeling pretty good about where we were at that point, you know. So that's the status of where we are at today. I don't know if Ken, if you want to talk about how it went today with, you know, the masking that you had to do. I know it's impactful on breakfast and lunch for sure.
Sure. We've done a lot more than just masking up. We've really dramatically changed the workflow of the building. We're changing how we're doing breakfast and lunch. We're changing how we're changing classes, all of that. We're still maintaining that our students for their academics stay in the same group, so they're in the same section of the building during their academics. When they transfer out to Allied Arts, they only go as a section group at a time, so therefore there's only that group of kids that are in the hallways at the time going to the Allied Arts. For lunch and recess, and this is something we started last week with the one section, now the entire building is split up at lunch so that half of the group of kids are eating lunch in the cafeteria and half of the group of kids are eating lunch in the gym. So we've really spread the kids out during that time when they have to have their mask off because they're eating. They get their mask off when they're eating. When they're done eating, they mask back up again. So we're doing all of that. And we're actually, the way we have our students like go to the lunchroom, some kids are coming to the lunchroom while other kids are exiting out of the lunchroom through the outside door. When they go out to recess, they go out separate corridors to separate sections of the building. So therefore, again, they're separated as much as they possibly can. And then Jay and I spend a lot of time going through the building, reminding kids to mask up, to separate it out, to do any of that. And last but not least, we found that there was a little bit of a tie-up this morning with breakfast, so we reconfigured our breakfast so that instead of sending every kid to the lunchroom for breakfast, to their classrooms for breakfast with their grab-and-go breakfast, some of them are able to eat in the cafeteria. So the first kids that arrive can be in the cafeteria and out of the cafeteria before even school starts. So we're doing everything we can to sort of keep the school safe and distance as much as they can without interrupting learning. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Thanks for asking.
You all set, Delaney? All right. Any other questions for the COVID? All right, Dan, go ahead.
All right, next up, reconsideration of fiscal year 2021 fund balance. So Chairman Dow and I were at the city council meeting, and I was doing my monthly report, and we were asking about, we're going to start to set a public hearing for the fund balance of $211,997, which was the additional fund balance that we had talked about last month, and we were going to be rolling forward, we hope, to our next year's budget. And we had Councilor Testament ask us to have the board reconsider that and to allocate that money to the police communications project. I think they need a new dispatch. So we talked and said we would bring it to the school board. So Chairman Dow, you are on.
So as you know, we already took a vote to appropriate the $211,997 at our September 20th meeting, and the vote was to add that money to, or hold that fund balance and be able to use it towards our 2023 budget. So I would not entertain it when Councilman Testament wanted me to speak at the city council meeting, because that's not my place to speak at that and to make any kind of decision. Told him I'd bring it back to the board. We can do this tonight because this is the first meeting we've had as a board since the last one. So if anybody wants to make a motion to reconsider, I will entertain that at this time.
I move to reconsider.
Okay, so Paul Doucette has made a motion to reconsider. Do I have a second? Seeing no second, that motion fails.
Okay, next item. The American Rescue Plan, IDEA Preschool Homeless Family Funds. We have some more money coming our way, and I am going to ask the board to accept these federal funds in the amount of $89,139.19.
I move that we accept the fund, the IDA funds of $89,139.19.
Christine, can you speak louder, please?
I'm sorry. I do have a loud voice.
I heard you.
I can talk loud. I move that we accept the IEA funds of $89,139.19.
I'll second the motion.
The motion's been made by Cecile to accept, Christie, to accept the $89,139.19 from the American Rescue Plan for special education, preschool, and homeless family support, second by Cecile. Do I have any discussion on that? Go ahead, Christie.
I just wonder, what specifically are we able to use these funds towards?
You want me to speak to that?
Want to speak to that, Jeff?
Sure. So these are funds, actually weren't aware that these are coming to us, but these are part of that third stimulus package that was passed by the federal government. So they fall under the American Rescue Plan Act that came out. There's three components. You have the ARP IDEA, which is additional money for IDEA. We already receive a grant for IDEA. Actually, there's two pieces, IDEA and preschool. And we get a grant every year for IDEA and preschool. These just happen to be additional funds that we can use for those purposes, again, for special education related costs of that nature. The homeless piece is for, obviously, when you have a lot of kids dealing with homeless issues, certain things related to any way to support them in their personal lives, transportation costs, which is one of the things that we're actually seeing a lot of this year. Is I'm actually over budget on our transportation costs, where we have to share a child's living in another district but continues to go to Franklin or vice versa, then we split the cost with the district that is either the location of residence or school district. So those are the purpose of these funds, they can be used towards that.
So I just want to make it clear, these funds that are coming in, they can't be taken and given to another area in the community.
No, these are very specific education funds
Right.
that, as pretty much all of our federal funds are. There's no way we can actually take any of our federal funds that we receive for educational purposes can be used for any other municipal entity to use in any way. The
I
only
just
thing
want to
that-
make sure that that's clear
Yeah.
to everybody that's watching, that this money that we receive as grants are used for educational purposes.
Right.
They're not something that we illegally give away to another
No, we cannot
cause.
do that.
Right.
The way our grant systems are set up is we actually have to spend the funds before we can even get the money from the government anyways. So we have to have it for its intended purposes. It can't be used for any other purpose.
And just to kind of touch base on it a little bit further, Christie, with you, Jefferson was there because we had to do a car for the additional money for the school. And that question was brought up about federal funding and state funding, okay? And the city council was told the procedures of it, and the city council knows that they are not allowed, under city charter, or in any circumstances, to touch our federal money or our state money. The only thing that the city has a right to is any of the local taxation money, which is, as we know, that's money that's the taxpayers of the citizens of Franklin have put forward for education. They could take that if they wanted to under a vote of the city council, but federal and state money, the city council knows they have no right to. So I just want to let you know that that was cleared with the city council. We told the city, Jefferson made that aware to the city council at the last city council meeting.
I just know that not everybody is able to watch the
Right.
city council meetings, and
Right.
not everybody is able to go to the city council meetings. So if they're able to watch our meetings or come to our meetings,
It's there for them.
they'll be able to hear it here too.
Right. All right, is there any other discussion on this motion? Go ahead, Deb.
Is there a specific amount that each area is awarded, or is it just as we need the funds?
There is a specific amount for each component. There's an IDEA component, a preschool component, and a homeless component, and they have specific dollar amounts to that. And I can tell you what those are exactly. DOE's website is always very slow. Okay, so the ARP IDEA piece is $67,704.32. The ARP preschool component is $5,754.11, and the ARP homeless is $15,680.76.
Is there any other questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, the federal funds are accepted.
Okay, Work Camp New England. Work Camp New England is a group that was going to come to Franklin 2 summers ago. They're a church group that comes and does community service and repairs in the community, and they were coming to Franklin. They were all set to go 2 years ago, and then COVID hit. So they've been in touch and continue to stay in touch with us, trying to reschedule. And they got in contact with me and wanted me to talk to the board about the possibility of them coming this summer. And they fully recognize that none of us can predict, where we're gonna all be in July or August when they would be coming. But I told them I would at least come to the board and talk about who they were. The previous board from 2 years ago had approved them coming and staying. I think they were staying for a week. And I believe we said they were gonna stay at the high school? Yes.
Yes, we did.
Middle school? High school? You thought middle
High
school.
school, right?
I thought it was high school too, because we didn't have a lot of summer programming in the high school at that point. So I guess the question to the board is, not knowing, none of us has a crystal ball, but the question is are we still willing, COVID, depending on COVID, are we still willing to host them if COVID allows us to do that this summer? So they can continue, I guess, in their planning stages.
Sounds great, I'll buy the paint for my house.
Delaney?
We're running extended summer school program. Is going to be any interference?
I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, we did run a nice, robust high school program this year, but I don't think it would interfere with what they would be doing. We would just give them a portion of the building that they would need to do what they need to do. But I don't think that it would be interfering with whatever the summer plans were in terms of tutoring or any courses we were teaching. I don't see that as a barrier.
Additional cleaning for the schools because of this, if we're still in the COVID situation?
Well, I would think that if we're still in a tough COVID situation, we would shut it down. So I guess I'm looking optimistically, thinking that, in May, when they have to make the final decisions around whether they're gonna do the trip or not, we would be able to say, hey, things are looking great, let's let them do it in July or August, it's not even scheduled yet. Or we would say in May, things aren't looking so great, you better shut this down and wait another year. So I'm just looking for some direction from the board about whether you're okay with me saying at this point in time, we want you to proceed with caution, or do you want me to just shut it down and say we want you to wait for another whole year? I guess is the two options tonight to consider.
Play it out.
So
Deb?
May is when they would make a final decision, or is when?
Well, that was my saying.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking they might want to do it earlier themselves, but I was going to tell them that well, depends on what you guys tell me. Decision you guys make. But I mean, you're always able to say no. I mean, if COVID spikes and we're in a bad place, we can
Well, I
always
think you
shut
have
it
the
down.
better handle on that with your charts that you put out all the time of where we are. So I think that we could give you that authority to make that final decision.
That works.
So we're just gonna continue. There's no objection from the board. I wanna just continue the steps we've taken forward and just authorize the superintendent to work with Work Camp New England, and if we need to cancel it, we'll cancel it. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Sounds great.
All right.
All right, super, thank you. Okay, I have an out-of-state field trip request. Oh, sorry, Winnisquam. So as you know, Winnisquam is working on a proposal for a renovation addition to create, I guess, rethink their ag center and make it into a CTE center. And one of the programs they're looking to put in place is a manufacturing program, and they're looking to still collaborate with Franklin on that. As you know, we have 4 manufacturing courses here in Franklin that are running start courses where we collaborate with Lakes Region. That process is continuing. I've written a letter of support saying that Franklin is working with Winnisquam and is intending on collaborating with Winnisquam in a manufacturing program. What that looks like down the road is yet to be determined. It would need to be negotiated between Franklin and Winnisquam if it comes to fruition. Winnisquam is hoping to have a warrant article for this in March, at their March meeting. So if you know anything about warrant articles, sometimes they pass, sometimes they don't. So there's some steps along the way that have to happen for this to come to fruition. It's probably, if it passes, it's probably 2 years out for them to get the, building and all that up and running. If it doesn't pass, they'll go back to the drawing board. Whether they'll go after it again or not is anybody's guess. But I wanted to share with the board the letter that I had written that talked about Franklin continuing to collaborate with Winnisquam, so you're in the loop. So, don't know if you have any questions for me about that or any comments.
Deb?
With the possibility of a new building, are they going to expect payment for our students participating, or is it still going to be the FLIP program?
So I would say it definitely wouldn't be the FLIP program with this. I think it's, like I said, something that needs to be negotiated, because the way this would work would be students from the region, and there's 8 districts in our region, would be going to Winnisquam as the CTE program. Winnisquam would contract with Franklin, so Franklin would be teaching 4 courses in the manufacturing program, and these students would then come to Franklin High School if they chose to take any of those 4 classes. So there's 2 things that has to happen. One is, what's the agreement between Franklin and Winnisquam for Franklin students to go to any of the courses over at Winnisquam? That's the same thing we would do with Hewitt.
Right.
So, all right, that's one thing that has to be figured out. The second, though, is what does Winnisquam pay Franklin, because Franklin is delivering instruction to these kids in the region. And that's the more important one that would need to be worked out is, what's that cost piece, or what are they gonna pay us, because we're providing that service to not just Winnisquam, but to the 8 schools in the region. So that, that's the negotiation piece, where we sit down and say, what is Franklin willing to do, what is Winnisquam willing to do, and we have to get an agreement with.
Is this similar to Concord Technical, is the technical school?
Yes,
It's going to be similar?
this would be a CTE center for our region. So right now, we all go to Hewitt.
Right.
And Winnisquam has already got approval from the DOE to be a tech center right over there at Winnisquam. Now, I think what they're planning on is cosmetology, because Hewitt doesn't have cosmetology, so there's no competition. And this would be a manufacturing program that's a little bit different than what Hewitt offers, so it's a different choice for students. More of a CAD. And you still would have the agriculture program that they're running, and they tend to run that as well.
No, those would be the only
That
3
would
for right
be-
now.
That would be,
Oh, I
yeah.
thought you said 4.
Yeah, no, that would
Okay.
be it. But we have 4 classes we teach.
Okay, oh, I'm sorry.
So for instance, Winnisquam might say, for every student that takes one of your courses, we're gonna give you X $1,000, and then we negotiate at the table and talk about, this is what we would expect. Because we might need to, with 8 districts sending students, we might need full-time manufacturing teachers to be able to run these courses, depending on how many
Right.
students want to take these courses. So it wouldn't just be the Franklin kids that we have now. So there would be a cost we would be incurring, because we have to pay for the instructors, but we would expect to be getting this money, hopefully, at least break even.
And that's why the question. That's why.
Right, otherwise it wouldn't really make sense for us to do it. So, but that's down the road.
Now you're on to the out-of-state.
All right, out-of-state field trip. So we have an out-of-state field trip for the football team. They're looking to do a day-long trip to Gillette Stadium. They are chartering a bus, and we need board approval because it's out of New Hampshire.
I move that the football team be given approval to go outside of the state of New Hampshire to Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts.
A motion been made to approve the out-of-state field trip to Gillette Stadium, Foxborough, Massachusetts for the football team. Do I have a second? Second by Delaney. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, the field trip's approved.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll let Danny know. Okay, tonight I have 2 nominations. I'm going to nominate Hannah Holmes as our part-time English as a second language teacher, and Heather Martineau as our part-time high school mental health counselor.
We have a motion to accept these 2 nominations.
So moved.
So moved by Deb, second by Paul. So the motions are to nominate Hannah Holmes as our part-time ESOL and Heather Martineau as our part-time high school counselor. Do we have any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, the nominations are approved.
Okay, thank you. In the board folder was our state assessment scores for 2021. You can see that for both math and for reading. Typically, what we would do with these scores would be to send them to the I2 team and have the I2 team dissect them and come up with plans for moving forward. I will tell you that we should be looking at these scores as a baseline, as the students that took this assessment have been out of school or in a hybrid remote point of view school for the last 18 months. And the scores would show that based on the results. Just so those who are looking at this for the first time, a proficient student would have to score a 3 or a 4 on the test out of a 1 through 4 scale. So when you look at a score that says 20%, that means 20% of the students scored either a 3 or a 4. Conversely, then 80% of the students scored a 1 or a 2, which is below the proficient line, just so you know what you're looking at. And if you go diagonally, you can follow the kids from one grade to the next. So you can see what the changes are from so I'm going from 3rd grade to the 4th grade to 5th grade by going diagonal.
Is there anybody that has any questions pertaining to the assessment? As stated, this will be going to I2. Dan's also going to be meeting with his administrative team. We know what this is. We've been gone for 18 months, so we were not. These scores were not a surprise to us, and Dan and his administrative team will be creating a plan to increase our scores. So, are there any other questions?
Let's hope they get better.
We all do, Paul. Any other questions? Go ahead, Delaney.
Have you looked at statewide averages to see if our...
We can't find them yet for some reason, but we haven't seen the statewide averages. They haven't been released yet. Okay, good. That makes me feel better because I've been looking all over. Did you look too?
Yeah. There's nothing out there yet.
Supposed to be made public the end of October.
End of October.
As soon as I see anything, I'll get the word out.
Yeah. As will I.
Any other questions? All right, so we'll move along.
Okay, we have a manufacturing class that's coming up starting in January. That's our CAD class, our SolidWorks class, and it requires us to buy some equipment and software. So I'm asking the board to approve up to $20,000 for us to purchase 10 computers and the SolidWorks program software for our new manufacturing course that we'll be teaching in January.
So I need a motion from the
I
board.
move that the board approve up to $20,000 as expenditures for 10 computers and the SolidWorks programs software for our SolidWorks manufacturing course.
Okay, so motion been made to approve up to $20,000 for our 10 computers for our manufacturing
Second.
software. That was seconded by Cecile. All right, second by Cecile. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The request is approved.
Thank you. We also have, I have a conflict with the November meeting date of November 15th, so I'm looking for the board to approve us moving that meeting to November 22nd, which is the following Monday.
Is there any objections for anybody to move that meeting? I also have a conflict. I'm going to be at another meeting that I need to attend.
I'm not going to be here either one of those days.
Hi, Paul.
Yeah.
All right, is anybody else set with November 22nd, moving our board meeting to November 22nd? All right.
Oh, good, I get November off.
All right, so we'll move to November. Dan will send out an email reminder to everybody. So the board meeting will be November 22nd.
You got this late items.
Yeah, late items.
Do all the rest of them, so I'm done.
Yeah, all right.
That's it.
That's it for the superintendent. Is there any questions for the superintendent? All right, excellent. We are moving right along here, and I love it. We're going to move on to agenda item 11. These are our administrative reports. Most of you, or all of you, should have already received them in your school board folder that was sent out on Thursday, I believe it was. You should have had the opportunity. So each of the administrators will touch very shortly, or touch lightly on it. If you have any questions, we'll go from there, all right? We'll start with our curriculum report with Jewel.
So As always, all my information was on there, the updated communication data, our updated professional development. We did have our first mentoring meeting. Unfortunately, because of the new times of dismissal for both schools, I have to have 2 separate mentoring meetings. So I hold one with our Paul Smith mentees, and then I hold a second one with middle and high school staff. We have our curriculum teams set to resume our curriculum cycle. I have a calendar proposal, but I have to share it at admin tomorrow and get that approved there before I confirm it with the people. But the team members that have volunteered to do that work are listed in the report. And obviously, by the time we have our next school board meeting, God willing, Matilda will have gone up and run and be complete and successful. So I highly suggest, these kids have been waiting to do this production for 2 years now, and so have I. So if you get the chance, please support them and see them. They've all grown 2 years older. And taller.
And wiser. All right, any questions for Jewel? Thank you, Jewel. All right, we'll move on to Rebecca for our special education report.
All right, hi everyone. I'll hit the highlights in here. I think I really want to thank first and foremost Wendy Dropkin for being available to do CPR training for the support staff. We were scrounging to find someone and realized that she was certified, so she pulled it together in a very short time. So all of our support staff are currently CPR trained, which comes in handy for covering students with needs or swallowing issues that require CPR certified staff. So we can be pretty flexible in that regard now. And then of course we did our Medicaid to schools billing training, which is always helpful, a refresher for folks who are more seasoned, and then a intense training for newer folks. I do want to report that our staffing has improved in terms of paraprofessionals. I think we've come about staffing these positions in every way we could think of to our benefit. So we've hired 2 more staff who happen to be LNAs who will support students who have more needs that would require that level of support. So we're excited to have them on board. Hot on my radar is the Indicator 13 training. Actually, the on-site is the next step. We did our training, we're ready to go. They'll be coming in December to review the students who they've selected for monitoring. And we did get the list of students who will be monitored just a couple days ago. So we have plenty of time to ensure that we're good to go for when they do come on site. Other than that, it's busy.
Thank you, Rebecca. You always are. Are there any questions for Rebecca? Thank you, Rebecca. All right, we'll move on to Paul Smith School. We'll start with Sue. Hi, Sue.
Nice to see everyone. As already explained, my report is pretty much self-explanatory. I do want to just take a moment to highlight my Title I team, who just this week is finishing up assessing all of our students in both English language arts and a few of our students, a couple of our grade levels in mathematics. They have done a phenomenal job, not only assessing them, but also working on putting them into Tier 2 groups. And tomorrow they will be working with the teachers at Paul Smith School to discuss the assessments, the results of the assessments, and what that means for us as we move forward. Very similar to the New Hampshire SAS, we probably have about 2/3 of our kids that are performing below grade level. As you know, a result of COVID, and many of our children never having attended school at all. So we will be really hyper-focusing on that and how to make gains with our kids and have our kids build self-confidence. But I also want to talk about Danielle Root, who is our OT, and Katie Boise, and I'm sorry I spelled her last name incorrectly, I just noticed that, for their dedication to our staff and to training. Both of them worked with our para-educators on our professional development day and did a phenomenal job of helping adults understand what negative language can do to a child. Katie also teaches at a community college, I believe it's New Hampshire Tech, and she did a little activity and she read a story, and every time she made a negative comment to a child, the adult had to put a tear in a piece of paper. And so it really was impactful for the adults in the room to see how many tears there were in their piece of paper by the time the story was done, and then to talk about the positive impact of approaching things positively, you know, not necessarily using negative words, but to shape behavior using language that is more appropriate to also keep a child's self-esteem and self-confidence intact. So I want to thank her, but I also want to thank Danielle, because Danielle, as most of you know, we have a sensory suite, and we have put that sensory suite back into our building this year. Our needs of our kids are significant, and Danielle did a wonderful job of training our paraprofessionals on student sensory needs and how to support those needs when children are struggling with sensory. And sensory can look similar to ADHD or any other type of behavioral overflow, but when you recognize it as a sensory need, there are different approaches that you can use with a student. So she helped paras understand that. So I also want to thank her for her time. Nicole, excuse me. Nicole will probably mention this in her report, but she has been working with Austin at the fire department, and we are working on developing a program for our kindergarten and probably pre-kindergarten through 3 students on fire safety, because this is Fire Safety Month, and they had a pretty busy month this month, so we are hoping to get that in the last week of October. And that concludes my report for tonight.
Are there any questions? We'll move on, and you can see Nicole has her report, which is usually in our disciplinary, so we'll move over. Hi, Nicole, good to see you.
Hello, yes, I will give you our student support report. During the month of October, it's been really nice to see the students starting to adjust to daily routines and having a routine that's structured each day, and to develop the understanding of school, how school works, and our school rules. Our focus has still been to really educate our kids on the necessary skills they need for interaction, social interaction, and making appropriate choices. We've been providing a lot of support with that. Our minor behaviors continue to be teachable moments for our students. This month we've had around a little over 22 major behaviors, which included leaving the building, physical aggression, excessive noncompliance, and a new favorite, refusal to leave the playground.
Yeah, but wait, there's a story. We won't tell it tonight.
Neither of us are agile enough to climb to the top of the playground structure.
The dome.
These incidents result in parent communication and time away from the classroom. We've also been able to, since our last board meeting, get out 9 letters regarding attendance, absences and tardiness to families, and getting them the support that they need to help with attendance. As Sue mentioned, we are going to be working with the Franklin Fire Department for fire safety, bring back the ever-popular touch a truck, and have the firefighter dress up in full equipment and talk in the mask and get that opportunity for the kids to see that. And lastly, our Caught Doing Good. Our bulletin boards are overflowing with beautiful pumpkins. They're little pumpkins that recognize each Caught Doing Good act, and we have over 150 acts this month so far.
Are there any questions for Nicole? Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to our middle school report. We'll start with Principal Darsney.
If anyone doesn't have a copy of the report, Mr. Trafford's got a pile of them, so he'll raise your hand and he'll bring one over too. Thank you, Colleen, for getting them in for me the last minute. I apologize for being late. It's been really busy at my house this week. As always, I report our enrollment numbers, and they continue to be steady. We do have, as you can see, a little bit of a drop, but I didn't show last month's, but our unenrolled has increased by 8, which means our drop is not by 4. It's down by 8 and up by 4. So that's essentially how the changes go with us, as always happens. I don't know how much of you know, but before I had a career before this in 20 years, I ran car dealerships. And I consulted, and mostly I was a manager in complex organizations. When you run a car dealership, your stars are the salesmen. They sell. If you don't sell cars, you don't do anything. But there's all the people that support what's going on. And I really wanted to take the time to talk to you folks. And I know these are things that you already know, but I wanted to actually write what I wrote down because I wanted to remind myself of what these things are, of all the different things that make up what makes our academic instruction, our teaching kids, read the 3 R's that comes up to. So I'm not going to read all of them because you know how to read, but it really was amazing to think about trying to construct all the different folks that Mr. Trafford and I have to interact with in order for us to get the first kid to be able to step off the bus and to step in the building and be able to get done with what's done. And if any one of these things hits a glitch, it stops. The whole machinery comes to a stop. So I wanted to at least acknowledge all of the individuals. They're not in any order of importance by any means. I kind of started globally with all the folks that we deal with for all the district, for the whole district, I mean, like facilities, food, IT, SAU staff, special education. But then talking about then going back to the building, our office, our nurses, paraprofessionals, classroom teachers and counselors, and then administration. I was not a very good salesman. I just admit to you, I wasn't a good salesman. But I thought, when I found out what needs to be done to support salesmen, I became a facilitator. I became, as the manager of the dealership, the person that made it happen because I didn't want them to have to worry about customer problems, the cars not getting ready for delivery, not being clean, the building looking shabby, the inventory not set up, advertising not get done, or inventory not getting taken care of. It's the same thing here. We have so many things that make up what our school is, and I really wanted to take the time to at least put them down all on paper and to say that's what I'm proud to say are the things that help make Franklin Middle School work, and the rest of the schools in the district, of course. So thank you for that, and we're looking forward to progress reports of the first trimester being over soon.
Thank you, Ken. Are there any questions for Ken?
I hope I didn't leave anything out. I don't think I did.
No, you can cover it.
Thank you for that.
We'll move on to our middle school assistant principal. Rumor has it he might have had a birthday over the weekend, but I don't know about this rumor, but it could have happened. Could have happened yesterday or something. But we're going to let Jay answer that one. Hi, Jay.
Hey, Tim. Thanks for that. No, I'm doing all right. Yeah, much like what you're seeing at the elementary school, and I'm sure the high school as well, kids are still adjusting, having them back in the building, seeing people all together. Behaviors are kind of amped up. They're excited to see each other. They're starting to kind of level off. But, right, it sounds like we're right on par. We've had quite a few minors that have become, great teachable moments, empowering the teachers to actually make those relationships work so that they can kind of squash some of those non-want behaviors. This past month, we've had 23 major events. Majority actually pretty well across the board. We had some physical activity, some more kind of aggressive stuff. We've had horseplay, which, for all the fun of teenage boys loving to wrestle at home, they think they can do it with us at school. And the good old middle school profanity. So those are our top 3 things. We've now having our ISS back up and running finally. We have had a total of 12 and a half days of ISS for this last month. That went across 10 different students. Unfortunately, out-of-school suspension also had a bit of a rise, but it was only for 4 different students, which then gave us 11 days over the last month. Overall, I think most of the students are learning what the expectation are, and they're living up to it for at least the majority of them.
Excellent. Any questions for Jay?
Being good for the middle school?
We have a version of that. We do it to a lesser level. I kind of like what they're doing there, and I'm going to look at that. But yeah, we have a.
We have a student of the
do
week.
a lower
I
level.
didn't put it on the report, but we had student of the week, and we do
I know
recognize
you
them.
have that, I just, and I think that that's great. I just think that, there are kids that are doing really great things in the middle school, and I feel like they should be recognized too. I mean, it seems like the student of the week tends to be the same person a lot of the time, but that's what I've noticed when I see them, same person over and over. And I think there's a lot of kids that deserve recognition.
We can do it.
That's just my thought.
No, that's a good,
Sorry.
that's a great, you're right.
There's
It's
a
great
family
suggestion.
mailing that I've sent home a number of times to certain students when I catch them doing good things, and I know some of our staff have reached out to individual families on those. But yeah, I was thinking maybe a little bit more, more of a display type of thing would be what needs to happen. Yeah.
All right.
Any other questions for Jay? Thank you, Jay. All right, we'll move on to our Franklin High School. It looks like, Carrie, you're gonna do both reports tonight?
I got both, yeah.
All right, so Carrie's gonna have both reports. So you're on, Carrie.
So I have an update from Danny Sylvester for, it's like number 4 on the list, about our New Hampshire Tackles Hunger. So there were online cash donations of $200. So it was $467 in cash and 536 pounds of food that were collected at the event. I just want to point out a few things from my report. Number 1, I wanted to point out that we actually had a group of children who were able to participate this year for the New Hampshire Educational Theater Guild College Festival. So they went up with Jewel and Presley Adair, and I think Jewel and I discussed it had been like 2 years since they participated in that because of COVID. So the kids went and had a good time. Many of you, I saw quite a few that were able to attend the Kaplan Cup new tradition that we have with Bishop Brady on October 9th. So Bishop Brady has the Kaplan Cup, so maybe next year. But it was nice to see the teams come together to celebrate Jeff. And there's a little piece in my report if you want to read a little bit more about that. We have a lot of upcoming things that are happening in the next couple weeks that I want to make sure I pointed out. So on Wednesday of this week, there's a community dinner for Portrait of a Graduate at Elks, and there are 20 spots remaining. So if somebody from the school board or anybody from the community would like to go, you can still sign up for that. We have our Make or Break Year, the book that we're reading as a staff, and I know that school board has the book as well. That's the Wednesday after. And then I'm excited because we have a group of kids who are going over October's Manufacturing Month, and so Watts was gracious enough to host tours of 6 kids at a time. So we have a couple groups of kids that will be going over and touring Watts on the 27th and 28th. And I'm very excited because we reached out, we had a lot of colleges that were reaching out to us beginning of the year, and they're like, what's the COVID protocol? How can we come to school? We have been doing a lot of Zoom sessions with colleges from last year, but we're hosting a college fair for our juniors and our seniors on November 2nd. And we have over 10 colleges that have already committed to come. They're very excited to come and see the kids. So bringing back some more normalcy. And I just wanted to mention that at the high school, we have golden shout outs for kids. So students and staff, like students can recommend, like do golden shout outs for teachers and vice versa.
Just touch base on Carrie's thing. Portrait of a Graduate Committee. Ian and I will sit on that Portrait of a Graduate Committee as part of that. So we have committed, we told Carissa that both of us will be attending on that night. So there will be representation both from the board and on the administrative part of it. So we've already committed to that. So we'll both be there, as Carrie knows. So. And then the other thing, Carrie, I just want to thank, I forgot to thank in recognition, but I had the opportunity to participate down here for a good portion of homecoming day at the sports. Superintendent Legallo spent the whole day here from 8 in the morning till whatever time the last football game got over. And I was able to make it down here in the morning, and then I do the chain gang for the football team, so I was here for the football game. But everything went very well. There was a very nice turnout of people, and our athletes did a tremendous job. It was kind of a rough day for them, but they all kept a smile, and they all kept their chin up, and it went very well. We had our first annual Cornhole tournament that raised money for them. Superintendent Legallo and I found out that we are not in the same competition as professional cornhole people. Okay, there was.
But we had fun.
There was 12 teams. We didn't come in 12th. We came in 11th. But it was a fun time, and the citizens of Franklin were very happy to see the representation of both the board administration. So I just wanted to say, it went very well that day. Things went extremely well, and everybody had a good time, so, thank you. It was.
I have a question. The book, the Make or Break Year, are you doing it by chapters, or are you just?
So we did like the pre-component, like introduction, and so the hope was that we would get through a couple chapters, but even if you haven't had an opportunity to do the reading, you can still come to the Zoom session and participate, because there's a little bit of a summary given. So it's more about creating a conversation and a space for people to discuss the students and what can we do to help our Franklin freshmen. So even if you haven't read, you can still come attend. But yeah, yep.
So Carrie, we're going to give you a disciplinary from Tim.
Also Mr. Westfeld this evening. So we have had 29 incidents since October 1st. And just like the middle school and the elementary school, we continue to see behaviors around communication from students who have not been in school full session. And it's the same across the state at the high school level. They're seeing very similar things. We've had 9 major incidents. Harassment, swearing, and threats of violence tend to be the top. And it's all about communication. That's what we're seeing at the high school level.
Any questions for Carrie? All right, thank you, Carrie. All right, we'll move on to our facility. Yep.
Can I just do a community service announcement?
You certainly.
As I'm looking around the room and thinking about some of my neighbors to Paul Smith School. So on Friday, October 28th, the police department is shutting down Daniel Webster Drive from the entrance to the apartments across the street from the school. I think they're called Franklin Woods. I see them every day, but I never read the sign. How's that? To the end of the road for approximately a half an hour so that our children can actually use the road to do their parade. So from about 1:15 to about 1:45 on Friday, October 28th.
No, 22nd.
No, wait a minute, I just looked it up. 29, sorry, I always do that. That Friday, we are closing down the road so that we can parade out and around in the road. So we'll walk up, almost like what we do with the Class Day Parade. We'll walk up one side, go to the end of the road, and wrap around and come down the other side of the road. My biggest concern for people who live in the area is if parents don't get to the school and park in the school parking lot before they shut down the road, they're gonna have to find alternative parking, and that may be on the road on the back side there. So, spread the word.
Well, spread the word that they don't block the driveways.
Yes, we will, we will. That will go out in one of my communications, yes.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
All right, facilities director, Dan, I know you have a couple of quick items you want to just talk to the
The
board.
best for last.
Hi, thank you. I got some good news as far as the elevated walkway at the middle school. We started on that Friday. I had the gas company come in, shut the gas down, remove the meters. I went in after that, shut everything down inside the facility. Saturday morning, the demo started. Excellent job. Within one day, we had it all demoed out, all cleaned up. Real small crew, but they came in, they did the work about 9 hours total to get apart. So we, let me see, it brings us to today. Today they went in and they're gonna start, no, I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. Sunday, the gas company came back in, put the valve back in. I turned everything back on, get it all set up for Monday morning to make sure they had it set up for the cooking, and a couple of times Sunday went in and checked. Everything went great, there was no flaws, there was no bumps, no nothing, everything went great. So brings us to this morning. They started to do the construction on it. They have all the metal work up already. All the railings are on. They're gonna complete the welding tomorrow. Hopefully everything should be done by noon. All goes well. Wednesday, we do have a welding inspector coming in. He's gonna do a check of all the welds. If it passes, we're gonna start the concrete work on Thursday. Thursday, the concrete work will be done, be tested on Friday, and if all goes well and Mother Nature works with us, it'll be painted on Monday, it'll be completed. So it's going real quick. They're using all galvanized. Everything's just falling into place perfectly. So I thought you guys would be interested in that, since that was a big thing. Austin has been working with me. I've been keeping him updated. I've been taking pictures with time frames of what's happening. He's all thrilled about it. So everybody's in line with that.
Beautiful.
So by next week, Ken, that should be going back up. All good.
How's the noise level for the kids, students?
Actually, I talked to three of the teachers this morning, and then again this afternoon. The biggest complaint about the noise level right now is the backup alarm on the lull. The lull is a machine that lifts the metal up.
Yep.
Yeah. It's muffled. There's not a lot of pounding and stuff because that was a demolition work. That was noisy. I'm sure the neighbors Saturday morning weren't happy pounding that out at 6:30 when we started, but no complaints. The teacher said other than the backup alarm, and unfortunately we can't muffle it. That has to be there. Tomorrow, basically all the metal's in place, so it'll be welding. So probably next to no noise tomorrow at all. It's just the welding. All the metal's in place. So they did a red curtain we put in the windows so the kids wouldn't look out. And we also have plywood up so when they're doing the welding, they can't look out and see the welding. Everything's going to be set up so they can't watch tomorrow. That's just for their eyes, for the protection of their eyes. But the teachers were fine other than a little bit of the backup noise with their alarm.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions for Dan?
The other thing is, a couple more things.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
It'll only take me about an hour.
Good luck with that.
We've been looking for a maintenance guy. I've been
Good luck.
running the show, and I did have two applicants that were worth looking into. I reached out to one this afternoon. Jefferson and I discussed it prior, and he texted me as we were in this meeting tonight saying he isn't going to accept the job. We're going to move forward with him. He has 20 years' experience in schools, and he's going to have to work a few weeks, of course, of what he's doing. So hopefully in like 2 more weeks, we'll be back to the full capacity as far as maintenance, custodians, and myself. We'll get back to regular 4 or 5 hour days for me instead of 6 or 7. Vandalism in the school of high school is on a rise as far as destruction. I've been working with Carrie and Tim. We've been problems with broken toilet paper dispensers, hand soap dispensers today, a front door. The kids are being held accountable. Working with Tim and Carrie, they have been doing community service. We come up with an amount that's what the stuff is worth when we find out who actually did it. And what happens is nobody knows who did it till over the weekend it's out on social media. Look what I did. So we got it. So that's how we're playing that game. But we're bringing them in, we're getting a dollar amount, and we're saying they're gonna work so many hours with my custodians, whoever, at this amount to pay it off. So that's how that's working. And we're gonna continue making them accountable, so hopefully that they'll get a grip and say, hey, it's gonna put a stop to it. Once we get these guys making them do it, the kids are gonna say, this isn't fun anymore. So that's how that's going.
They gain a new respect working
Right.
with the daytime custodians, and then they want to continue helping and do community service in the building afterwards. That's what we've seen with a lot of the kids that have.
A lot of these kids, when they have to do this work and they have to repair it themselves, they don't want it broken again. So they start talking to their friends saying, yeah, you need to stop ripping these things off the walls.
Well, I was actually in the bathroom today, working in one of the bathrooms, and 99% of the time, once I go into a bathroom, I lock it, so I don't get interrupted coming in. I spaced it, I was doing 100 different things. And the kids walked in and was discussing the soap dispenser. And 3 of them were very upset that it got broke. I mean, they were literally upset. And the other 2 gave me, they didn't care. But the first 3 were, and they started, talking and stuff, and I explained it to them, and I said, it's your mom and dad's money you're paying for this. You guys have analyzed this stuff, the school's paying it, taxpayers are paying it. And when we all left, they all left realizing that, oh yeah, maybe, this is, so, and I told them, when I was your age, I probably did the same thing, and now on the other hand, that I'm fixing it, you realize that it wasn't right. But back in my day, you didn't have to worry about calling my parents because they handled it a different way.
Yes.
Other than that, we're back on track and everything's good.
All right,
Thank you.
excellent, thank you, Dan. All right, that's gonna end our administrative reports, we're gonna go to policy. So we'll say goodnight to our administrators. Thank you as always. I did the best I could to get you out of here within 2 hours. All right, we're gonna move on and we're gonna move quickly. So here we go.
I make a motion to approve.
Here's agenda item 12. This is policy for second reading and approval. IJOA, field trips and excursions. IJOA E1, Franklin High School field trip form. IJOA E2, field trip form for nurses. IJOA E3, field trip, drug, alcohol, and vaping behavior contract. IJO-KA, school, family, and community partnership. This is for second reading and approval.
So moved.
So moved by Deb, second by Paul. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, the policies are approved. There are no second or first readings for this evening due to we had to cancel our policy, so it'll be on next, next month's. We do need to withdraw 4 policies because we just approved 4 of them as you see above. So we need to withdraw these because of the ones we just approved for second reading. The withdrawals are IICA, field trips and excursions, IICA E1, Franklin High School field trip form, IICA E2, field trip form for nurses, IICA E3, field trip, drug, alcohol, vaping behavior contracts. So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Deb. Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, they're withdrawn. Agenda item 13 we'll go to after in just a minute. Do you have public participation? Do you want to? Okay. I didn't want to hold you up if you had something you wanted to talk. Okay, so we're going to, we have no public participation at this time. We're going to do late items, okay? We got some late items on some items that were approved during non-public that need to be approved outside of the board. It was discussed in non-public, needs to be approved outside. So I'll make a motion that we increase the special ed director's salary by $5,000 for this year, and that she enters into an additional 2-year contract with 3% increases for each of the following those years. Second by Delaney. Do we have any discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The approval, those increases approved. I'll make a motion that we increase or give a stipend, again, give a stipend of $1,000 out of ESSER funds to our communication coordinator. Do I have a second? So moved by Maureen. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The ESLO is already approved. The 1 day a week council is already approved. I'll make a motion that we hire a LNA for the remainder of this school year. This is a new position that we pay through ESSER funds. It's an 8-hour-a-day position and a salary of $38,287.95. Do I have a second? Second by Christie. Do we have any discussion?
Can I just change the language to the cost?
Oh, yeah.
37,000, not a salary of 37,000.
Oh, it's 37?
Total cost, approximately.
Oh, okay. Somebody gave us a different figure. Oops. So it's not 38,
No, it's based on the number of days, but there's also the associated costs, like retirement and any other.
So do we have
pieces.
to add
it's a
another
total-
30?
It's a total cost.
So what's the total cost?
What you had, that number.
The 38?
Yeah.
Okay, so 37's for
Right,
her.
Dan? Is that correct? Was that the total cost, or is that?
The LNA?
Yeah.
38,287.95.
That was for the 151 days.
for total cost for her though,
Oh,
right? Not
including
just,
benefits?
not just the
Yeah.
salary.
Okay, so that's
everything.
correct, okay.
Yeah.
So
was
the
correct,
38.
yep.
What was the number again?
38,287.95, and that's overall cost, that's
Okay,
benefit package and salary.
okay.
All right, any other discussion on that?
Adjusting the motion to say total cost instead of salary.
So total cost, you can adjust it, yeah, you can adjust that, Colleen. Total cost will be 38,287.95, that's for her salary and benefit package.
Do we already have somebody in mind for this position, or are we posting it?
We have already interviewed, and we have somebody in mind for it.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it and it's approved. All right, last item of the night, we need to have a non-public, should be a quick non-public, so I'll make a motion that we go into non-public under 91A to, hold on a second here. In front of me. 91A, paragraph 2A, personnel.
Second.
Second by Deb. I need a roll call vote.
Maureen Abe? Yes. Deb Brown?
Yes.
Delaney Carrier?
Yes.
Celia Cormier?
Yes.
Paul Doucette?
Yes.
Tim Dow?
Yes.
Christie Martin?
Yes.